Friends, welcome to another International Bible lesson. I am just plumb pleased, happy to be with you again today. I am just excited about studying God's Word with you. Man, I tell you, it just pleases my soul when we as brother and sisters can come together and study the Lord's Word. Today we are in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 37. We're looking at the 2nd through the 11th verse, the 23rd and 24th verse, and the 28th verse. And our lesson subject is biased love. And of course, today is September the 6th, 2020. And while you are getting your books and commentaries and Bibles together, let me just tell you one more time, thank you for not giving up on God and for giving God your best. Because when you give God your best, you know He'll give you His. This book of Genesis, of course, this book is written by who? That's right, Moses. And the meaning of the Genesis means beginning. And we are proud that we are in the beginning of this book. This book provides background on everything that was created in the world. And it explains how sin came into the world. Because we know when God created the world was sinless. So sin came in. It reveals God's plan for His kingdom. And it also teaches us where all of our languages come from. It teaches us where people come from. This book of Genesis teaches us about the creation. It teaches us about the death of all mankind except for a handful of people during the flood. We're starting now in the book of Genesis, the 37th chapter, and starting with the 2nd verse. Our subtopic is Jacob's favoritism of Joseph. Genesis 37:2. These are the generations of Jacob. Jacob, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock when his brethren and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now, I know that was a lot. So Joseph now was the son of Jacob and Rachel. If you remember, Joseph, they were born in Padam Aram. You'll find that in Genesis 30 and verse 24. And Jacob worked, if you remember, for Rachel. He loved Rachel so much. As soon as he saw Rachel, that boy fell in love. And he wanted Rachel so bad that he worked 7 years for Rachel. And then his uncle Laban tricked him, and he ended up working another 7 years. I know what you ladies thinking. He only bought me a hamburger. Hey. But this man worked 14 years, and he never touched her until the 7 years were over with. Isn't that something? That somebody will work that long for you? Now, Jacob slept with Rachel's handmaid, Bilhah, to conceive a son because she thought that she couldn't get pregnant. Sounds familiar? You remember somebody named Sarah or Sarah? You remember that? Genesis 37 and verse 3. Now, Israel loved Joseph, more than all his children. Let me say that again. He loved Joseph more than all of his other children because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a coat of many colors. Remember now, Joseph, about this time, was around 17 years old. And that means Jacob was around 108 years old. So you say, what an old man doing making a baby? Well, things happen, don't they? He said he loved Joseph more than any of his other children. So he made him a coat. He knitted a coat just for Joseph. They called it a coat of many colors. Some of y'all can relate to this. You always say your mama loved him more than she loved me. He got everything and we got nothing. Y'all remember this? Well, it's 9 of us, or it was 9 of us. And I was right there in the middle, so I can relate to what you're talking about. Jacob's favoritism of Joseph. Genesis 34, 37 and verse 4. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him, being Joseph, more than his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceable unto him. The father openly showed the family that he loved Joseph more than all of them or any of them. Now, don't you think at the dinner table that's going to create some problems? Don't you think at Christmas time that's going to create some problems? Birthdays, that's going to create some problems. Thanksgiving, that's going to create some. You can see how this is going to go, can't you? And yes, they did not. In fact, the Bible says they hated Joseph because of the favoritism his brothers show him. I want to put a pin there and caution us because sometimes moms and dads, I'm talking to y'all right now, sometimes we end up favoring one child a little bit more than you do the other. You can cause consequences that you can't even foresee. Things can happen down the road that you may not even meant for it to happen, but it can happen when you show favoritism. Tell all your children every day that you love them all. Don't show one more than you show the other. That can really cause a problem. Now, having said that, I must say this was in the divine will of God. This was God's plan. Okay? This is why this happened that way. But don't get caught in that snare. 37 and verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him yet the more. Wow. Joseph, brethren, really despised him. They hated him, and he received special treatment. Now, we all want to be loved. Every last one of us have a desire to be loved. And when we don't feel love, sometimes we do some crazy things, don't we? I know a lot of guys out there saying, yeah, I know. That's why my car scratched up. Yes, it does happen, doesn't it? Because we show favoritism or we don't show love when we should be showing love. Joseph was unknowingly, he was being guided by God. God's hand is in this whole thing. And brothers, they could have not trusted Joseph because when you think about this and you think about it every day, your father or mother or daddy putting you down, telling you just like your daddy, you ain't nothing, you ain't going to be nothing, you'll never be nothing. Every time I look at you, I see him. That hurts. It hurts. So let's not do that to our children. Let's let every one of our children know that we love them each and every single day. Genesis 37 and verse 6. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. Joseph actually had two dreams. He did not know that his dreams were from God. The duty back at that time when you had a dream that affected the household or affected the nation was to report it to the family and to the elders. And he did that. So he wasn't really just bragging, although there may have been some bragging in there. I'm sure it was. He felt, hey, look at me. I got this dream. I got a dream, but this was the will of God. So we can't put our hand down on him because God was in this plan. There was nothing either sinful or offensive in the spirit of Joseph. Now, yes, he may have been immature. He may have been a little braggadocious. He may have been all of these things, but his spirit was genuine. Genesis 37 and 7. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf rose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood around about and made obeisance to my sheaf. This is his dream. Now, the sheaf that Joseph had stood upright, stood straight up. And his brother's sheaf, they bowed down to Joseph to show obeisance. In that day, God used dreams to show his people what he was going to do. Remember, the word says that no man can look upon God. So God had individual representatives that he talked to, like Moses or like Abraham, certain chosen men. And he would give those men words. Sometimes it would come in a dream, as it did with Solomon, or sometimes it would just come in a word. But either way, it came from God. And the chosen prophet was supposed to put that word out to the people. And the way they knew it, because the people would say something along the line of, thus saith the Lord. That means this is not me talking. This is the Lord talking. 37 and verse 8. And his brethren said to him, Shall thou indeed reign over us? Or shall thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dream and for his words. Now, this is the third time that his brethren has been cited with hating Joseph. And sometimes, look, y'all, let's be honest about it. You can be doing the right thing with the right intentions, with the right frame of mind, and somebody for no reason at all have anima against you. Somebody will put their eyes and their mouth and their hand on you in a negative way, and you are simply doing what you know is right. But don't worry about that. You keep doing what you know is right. Look at Deuteronomy 21 and 17. Instead, he must acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved wife, by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For the son is the first fruit of his father's strength. The right of the firstborn belongs to him. Now, remember, Joseph is a little boy, and his brothers are grown. And he's telling his brothers that they, being older, are going to bow down to him being younger. When does the little boy take charge of the bigger brothers? It doesn't work that way, but it does here in God in this particular story. God uses who he pleases when he pleases. Joseph is simply reporting what he dreamed. That's it. his brothers refused to accept the dream, but that doesn't change the dream. That simply means that they don't like it, but it doesn't change the fact that God is still using Joseph in this dream. The problem is not with Joseph, and the problem is not with the dream. The problem is with the brothers, and sometimes with us, when we refuse to accept the will of God. Joseph is simply reporting what he dreamed. The brothers refused to accept the dream. The problem was not Joseph. Don't worry when people start telling you, you need to change. You do what you know is right, and if it's right by God, you hold steadfast. You keep on to God's unchanging hand. You keep your eyes fixed on him. Don't worry about it if they don't like it. If they don't like it, you do what God told you to do. Because after all, on Judgment Day, he's going to give you a double portion if he told you to and you walked away. The Bible says that it's better to never touch the gospel plow than to touch it and turn away. Don't let that punishment fall on you. This was God's will, and God's will shall be done. Genesis 37 and verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. He says the sun and the moon bowed down to him in his dream. Now, this and the symbolism for this is the sun and the moon are not naturally occurring things. This is something that's eternal in God's heaven. No man controls the sun or the moon. And if they paid obeisance to him, that means God must have been in this plan. That's the proof that God is in this plan. 37 and verse 10. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come and bow down ourselves to thee on the earth? Look, Jacob loved Joseph, remember? Jacob showed favoritism to Joseph. Jacob never ever said anything until now. Jacob is in the cooker. My, how things change when it's you in the cooker. As the young people said, it ain't never fun when the rabbit get the gun, is it? But now you see Jacob now, he himself has to bow down to his own son, and he don't like it. Now he's on the boy's side. Just a verse ago, he was all lovey-dovey with his son Joseph. Now he done flipped the script. He says, no, rebuke when it was your brothers. That was fine. Now it's you and your mother. You want to jump up and say something. How many times, parents, have we known that we have boys bringing stuff into our house, and you know they don't have a job, and they bringing these $100 tennis shoes into your house, and you know that these boys up to no good, but you let them off because they're breaking you off a little something. But when the heat get heavy and the police come and want to take your car, take your house, you want to cry foul, but it's too late. It's too late. You should have did it when you knew it was wrong. just like Joseph. Don't wait. You should have said so. Genesis 37 and verse 11. And his brother envied him, but his father observed the same. His brothers envied Joseph. Isn't that something? They want to be what Joseph are. They hate him. Oh, yeah, they still hate him, but they still wouldn't mind being in his shoes, right? They want God to talk to them like he's doing with Joseph. They want to dream some dreams, but God chooses and shows favor where God chooses to show favor. His brothers indicated their hatred. They didn't make any bones about it. Can't you see the redness in their face when their brother came up to them anytime all of them was in mixed company? Can't you see that scowl on their face because they hate their brother so much? They running around with their lip poked out looking like Donald Trump. Can't you see and imagine that? Father simply observed. Genesis 37 and 23. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him. Hatred and jealousy, man, I'm telling you, they are strong emotions. And they can cause you to do some things in the heat of the moment that you normally may not do. When people get mad and they are so mad they see red, they may shoot you. But if they have time to think about it, they may walk away. Don't let hate eat on you. This hatred led his brethren astray. You see, this is not a God or godly emotion. Ephesians 4 and 26 says, be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. In other words, don't get so mad that you out of control. As the folks say, you just see red. All you can see is red. Because you're going to do something in a moment that's going to affect you for the rest of your natural life. Don't do that. Calm yourself. Walk away. Count to 10. Do a headstand. Whatever you have to do to bring yourself back under control. Genesis 37 and 24. And they took him and cast him into a pit. Now, this is his brother. They took his brother, stripped that coat off that his father, that beautiful, beautiful coat his father made for him, the coat of many colors. And they stripped it from him. And they threw him into a cistern, which is like a pit, or think about an old well. And it was supposed to be empty, but there's always some kind of water or something at the bottom of it, and it turns to mud. A lot of times you'll find snakes and things in these wells. And they covered, the pit was covered, this one was covered at the bottom with mud. And these pits were almost impossible to get out of when you're by yourself. Look at Jeremiah 38 and 6 or Jeremiah 40 and 15, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Genesis 37 and 28. Then there passed Midianites, which were merchant men, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they bought Joseph into Egypt. Remember, I told you this was God's plan. Joseph had to come out of his father's house and get to where God wanted him, which was in Egypt. This is where God wanted to do the work. Now, God didn't tell Joseph what his plan was or how he was going to work this plan. And I say that to you is because many times we'll go to God and ask God to do a thing for us. And then we want to know every detail of how and when and where and who he's going to do it. It's not for you. God works the way that God works. And let him and trust him to do what you're asking him to do. Otherwise, why bother to ask him? If you're going to do it, then why ask him to do it? If you ask him to do it, keep your hands off of it and go ahead and tell him thank you in advance. Now, these Midianites got Joseph out of the pit. They sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And that's how Joseph ended up in Egypt. My brothers and sisters, as always, I have enjoyed this particular lesson. And the lesson picks up again next week with Joseph being in Egypt. You see, here's the kick. Sometimes God has to get us out of our current situation to put us in the situation where he wants us to be in. So we have to be careful when we talk about what God, the situation you're in. Whenever you're in the heat of the situation, instead of complaining about it, just go ahead and give God some praise and let God work that thing out for you, and he'll do it to your benefit. I tell you, I thank you. And as always, the people always ask for our address. Again, I'm Pastor Donald Wicks, and it's Jeter Park Missionary Baptist Church, located at 4815 Percy Road, Memphis, Tennessee, 38109. The church phone number is 901-789-1300. We do have a Cash App, and the Cash App is $Dr. Donald Wicks. The proceeds don't go to me, they go to the church. I simply make sure they get to the church. I thank you as always, because I know and you know that if we hold tight to God's unchanging hand, one day he's going to tell us welcome. And he's going to say, well done to us. And he's going to call us by that favorite subject, our good and faithful servant. I can't wait. I'll see you next week.